All right, Padres and Mets, all three games are going to be at Citi Field. Best 2 out of 3. What are the keys for the series?
Right out the gate, solid series. But the keys to the series, it hasn't been too many pitchers that I feel like have been able to neutralize that Mets offense. But Yu Darvish, he seems like he's been one of those guys this year. Watching the games throughout the season, the Padres played really well against the Mets, and Yu Darvish was a big piece of that, throwing that, whatever you want to call it, 10-pitch mix, being able to throw all of his pitches, changing his speeds, and he was really able to neutralize the Mets with that split finger. He was throwing a little more than he normally does, and with the split, when the split is good, Al, as you know, it makes that four-seamer even better to where people are just guessing. Had Lindor looking absolutely naked out there on the changeup. And Alonso right here, he was using his cutter, but if the Mets want to get on him, they can't miss pitches like this because Darvish, he's going to go out there, control the game, but when he makes a mistake, you got to take advantage. And who can the Mets not make a mistake on? Manny Machado. I'm curious to see how they pitch him here in the playoffs. He's been that guy before Soto, after Tatis suspension. Machado has carried the offense from day one. With the Mets, we know what we're going to get, the two-headed horse. Everybody's been talking about it. You can't talk about it enough. Scherzer and DeGrom, back-to-back, in whatever order you want to put them, they're a force to be reckoned with. DeGrom's been giving up a few homers lately, but I see when the playoffs come around, he's going to lock it in. But that offense for the Mets, they're going to carry them to the promised land. Top of the order, Nimmo, Lindor, McNeil, winning a batting title. Congratulations for that. All setting the table for Mr. Pete Alonso, who knows how to get runners in. Whether he has to shoot the ball out of the way, it doesn't matter. The big decision for me, guys, is going to be that Game 3 starter. I think Bassett is probably lined up for it. Okay. He's probably had a better season, but when you look at the numbers, when you look at the Padres and what they were able to do with the Mets this season, sometimes even when you have a good season, another team has your number, and the Padres seem like they have his number. So I would consider talking about Carlos Carrasco right here. The Mets beat the Padres twice this season. Both times that they beat them, Carlos Carrasco was on the mound, keeping these guys off balance, using his slider, using his entire arsenal, getting Machado out, although I don't think they should pitch to him. Carrasco, if things are working good and you've had success with guys throughout the season, maybe you should consider, and I think this is something that Buck may think about, on that Game 3, if necessary, a big decision is going to be made with Bassett and Carrasco. I'm calling it, looking ahead.
All right, so Darvish is the only starter who we know is going to go a Game 1, and that's Friday, by the way. And then the other starters, those are potential starters we could see for both teams. Darvish, by the way, in 2 starts against the Mets, gave up just 1 run. You have caught Max Scherzer before the postseason. We all know Mad Max, obviously, Hall of Fame type career. He's a different beast in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's a different beast. And talking about the postseason, it just kind of brought back memories of our times with Detroit, and one in particular for me was in 2013. He actually came in the relief after starting earlier in the series in a big moment. Actually got himself in a little bit of trouble with the bases loaded, but ends up punching out Josh Reddick, Stephen Vogt, and then getting the fly out to center field to get us back into the dugout. We ended up winning that game. But, I mean, that's just kind of the intensity you're going to see from this guy. And I know Max and DeGrom have kind of taken their lumps in this last month of the season. But, I mean, those two are about as good as anybody in baseball. And I think anybody would take those two guys. And you pointed out the depth of their rotation not only helps them in this series, but going into the DS if they're able to get past the Padres.
All right, Mets and Padres, that is one series. Another series, the Cardinals are going to take on the Phillies. All 3 games, if necessary. Game 3 will be at Busch Stadium. You see Game 1 is at 2:07 Eastern start. Again, these are potential pitching matchups here. And so for the Phillies, you're going to see Wheeler and Nola in some combination 1-2. Wainwright's been a big point of discussion, especially in St. Louis, whether we're going to see him in the wild card season or series, or if the Cardinals move on, then you'll see him in the DS. But give me your keys to this series of Philadelphia and St. Louis.
Well, the keys for me in this series going into it, when I look at the Cardinals and I look how Marmol's going to kind of put that rotation together going into this wild card series, because there's been a lot of question marks going into this. Obviously, Waino's been struggling a little bit with the dead arm, but we see here we got our Cardinals in our basket here in their nest. Waino trying to figure out what to do. Michaelis and Quintana have been the most consistent guys down the stretch, and Michaelis has been there all year. Jordan Montgomery has had flashes of some really good starts early on once he came over in the trade. But the biggest X factor for me Flaherty. You know,
Okay.
what do we do with Flaherty? Is he going to come in? Is he going to start one of these games? Is he going to be coming in kind of as a fireman role, piggybacking one of these guys that are coming out of the pen? And then for the Phillies, for me, it's their pitching, obviously. You know, you're going to have Wheeler, you're going to have Nola coming out, which they match up really good with against this Cardinals offense. They've pitched well against the Cardinals this year. They've done really well against Goldschmidt and Arenado in particular. But then it's about getting it to the back end of this bullpen, which has been, you know, pretty much solidified over the course of this year. There's been question marks over the years with the back end of that bullpen. But guys like Robertson, Brad Hand coming back, Alvarado's been throwing bowling balls, and Eflin's also an option for Thompson. But those are the keys for me. And I mean, when you look at here, obviously against Nola and Wheeler, you know, they've thrown really well against this Cardinals team, and you know, it's a tough matchup, I think, for the Cards.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup. Then that Cardinals offense, yeah, you can trust on Goldie. You can trust on Arenado, but you're going to have Tommy Edmonds step up. I'm curious to see what happens in left field. You got Tyler O'Neill, who's a little banged up right now. Dylan Carlson starting to have better at-bats off of righties as of late. But what are decisions that you're going to have to make for that outfield are going to be huge. Lars Nootbaar probably going to get a lot of love out there. So I'm looking forward to Dickerson's going to get a lot of love.
He's been raking, too.
Yeah, absolutely. They look good.
And also, Albert Pujols is going to have to stay red hot for the Cardinals to continue to roll.
Well, yeah, he's got to be a big part of it, too.